All right, so today we are proving triangles similar. We're going to start off with one of our first postulates, aka our shortcuts. So the first one is angle, which we refer to as AA, which means if we have two angles of one triangle congruent to another two angles from the other triangle, then we have similar triangles. So looking at our first diagram here on the right, you can see I have angle B congruent to angle E, and I have angle A congruent to angle D. That makes my two pairs of congruent angles for the triangles. So I can then say the two triangles are are similar by AA. So we can write a similarity statement. Triangle BCA is similar to triangle EFD by AA. Now we do need to include how we're proving them similar because there will be more theorems and postulates to justify our answers. Remember, when we make our similarity statement, order does matter. All right, so now we're going to look at some examples and use what we know about triangles to see if they're similar or not by using AA. The first thing I want to recall is that our triangle, our sum of a triangle from the inside, is 180 degrees. So that means all three angles should add up to 180 degrees. If an angle is missing and we have two angles, we have enough information to be able to find the third. All right, so let's look at number one. So in number one, we are given the two triangles and we are missing angle B in this triangle. So I'm just coloring it in. So in the first triangle, I see we have 88 and an 88 in the other triangle. That is one pair. Obviously, 62 and 68 do not match. They are not congruent. So I need to find the measure of angle B. So to find the measure of angle B, I'm going to add up 62 and 88, subtract their sum from 180, making this 30. And we do this again in the other triangle as well. So angle E, after I add up these two angles and subtract from 180, this makes angle E 64. Looking at these two triangles, do I have a second pair that I can say are congruent? And the answer is no. So since I cannot show two pairs are congruent, I'm going to say these triangles are not similar. Again, I use my tilde symbol to show it. You can write the word out. Either way is acceptable. All right, so I would like you to pause your screen and try number two. Tell me if they are similar or not. All right, so you should have found the missing angles for A and F by the same process that we did in number one. We're going to add up our angles and subtract from 180. So angle A should be 62 degrees, and angle F is 58 degrees. So do we have at least two pairs of congruent angles in these two triangles? So I'm going to start off with the 58. So that's one pair. Let's go with 62. 62 and 62. I already have two pairs. I can stop right there and say these two triangles are similar. My similarity statement, I'm going to say triangle ACB is similar to, how would I complete that statement? All right, so look at your letters and how would I complete that statement? All right, so my statement should be triangle EFD. Again, by AA. Do not forget to include that. All right, so let's look at number three. So number three, I can see that we have 70 and 67 in this triangle. And then in this triangle here, we have 43. I'm going to try to find this angle here first. So I'm going to add up these two and subtract from 180. When I do, I can see that this angle in the corner is 43. I have one pair of congruent angles, but I don't have enough information to identify what these measurements are. I can't just assume anything, so I can't figure them out. So I'm going to say cannot be determined. I'm not even saying not similar. I'm going to say cannot be determined. That means we don't have enough information to even say if they're similar or not. All right, let's look at number 4. All right, so number 4, there are 2 triangles in this picture. So the first one is this triangle here. I would recommend highlighting it. The second triangle, let me get a different color. The second triangle is here, the larger one. All right, looking at these 2 triangles, going back to our knowledge from other triangles from before, is there anything I can mark off, anything that they share to help me prove that these 2 triangles are similar or not? Okay, so I hope you guys can see that these 2 triangles are overlapping and they share something. They share this top angle, so I could put a curve marking here. So we've seen a lot of shared sides in our previous lessons. Now we're looking at a shared angle, and this is still our what property? It's our reflexive property. Remember, reflexive property is when we share a side or an angle. Now, based on this information, do we have 2 pairs of congruent angles? So remember, we're looking at the blue triangle, the larger one, and the orange triangle, the smaller one. Do I have 2 pairs? I do. So I could say the triangles are similar. I cannot name them. We don't have letters. We don't give letters, so we're leaving it that way. All right, let's look at number 5. So I would like you to identify number 5 if the triangles are similar. All right, so in number 5, we have 1 pair of congruent angles here and a second pair here. So we do have our 2 pairs. Now we're going to make our similarity statement. So I can say triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF. Remember, order matters, and we're going to say by AA. All right, let's look at number 6. Number 6, can we add any markings to help figure out if these triangles are similar? Right, we can add curve markings here. What would be the reason or justification we can mark off those angles? Okay, they are vertical angles, which means we have congruent angles here. So do we have 2 pairs of congruent angles? So we already know our vertical angles are congruent, and then we both have right angles in each of those. So I can say the 2 triangles are similar. And we're going to create our next similarity statement. So triangle ACB is similar to, complete that similarity statement, triangle DCE by AA, by angle. All right, so the goal of these 6 problems were to find missing angles, whether that is using our triangle sum of 180 degrees or bringing back our skills of marking our picture for things we already know, such as our shared angle, reflexive, or vertical angles. All right, let's move on to the next page. All right, so it says in problems A and B, show that the 2 triangles are similar. Now, what I mean by show means to explain or mark how they are similar. All right, so it's telling you the 2 triangles are similar. They're giving you this information. They're saying, hey, this is a true fact. These 2 triangles are similar. Prove it to me. Show it to me on the diagram. So the first thing is I can already see we have 1 pair. I got to figure out where the second pair is. So I want to highlight where my triangles are. So triangle AEB is the top small triangle, and triangle ACD is that large triangle here. What can I mark off to justify how these 2 are similar by AA? All right, we can mark off angle A. I just put double markings there just because for emphasis so you can see on the diagram. So we can mark it off, and we have to provide justification. What would be the justification? That would be our reflexive property. All right, so we prove that we have two pairs of congruent angles. So I should see on your paper that you showed me the one pair by circling them and the second by putting that curve marking with the justification. All right, let's look in letter B. Letter B again, both are similar. And now we're looking at our diagram. They're bringing back arrows. What do arrows mean on our diagram? All right, so arrows mean parallel. So the first thing I'm going to do is extend those parallel lines. And that means we have what type of angles hidden in our picture? I hope we remember this. Right, we have alternate interior angles hidden in our picture. So I can say that angle S and angle U, and I'm going to label it alternate interior angles. I'm going to also label that we have the transversal so I don't forget how I got it. But that's only one pair of angles. What else can I mark off to get that second pair to show? So I can mark off angle V. I'm putting two curve markings. It's the second pair of information. And what would be the justification for marking off angle V in both triangles? Right, they are vertical. Right, and so now I showed my two pairs. So that is all the justification I need. So this is kind of like what we did when we had proofs. We're marking off and labeling why we're marking it off. That is showing how. All right, last two problems. So here it says we have a flagpole casts a shadow that is 600 inches long. At the same time, a woman standing nearby who is 40 inches tall casts a shadow that is 40 inches long. How tall is the flagpole? To the nearest foot. All right, so the best way to do this is to draw a picture. So the first thing I'm going to draw is the person. So here is that woman with her shadow. Now, how long is her shadow? We're going to label that in a second. And then we have our flagpole with its shadow. So we're going to label all the information that we have. So here we have the 600-inch shadow. The woman, she is 64 inches. And then we have that shadow of 40 inches. We want to know how tall the flagpole is. So what we need to do is bring back our knowledge of proportions and create our proportion to set this up. So like I like to set up is part over part. So I would like to put, and it doesn't matter which way you go, but be consistent. So X over 64. So I'm going with the flagpole first. Over 64. So the flagpole's height, the woman's height. Now the flagpole shadow over the woman's shadow. So now we're going to cross multiply. So when we cross multiply, we're going to get in one direction 40x, and in the other direction, we get 38,400. Now we're going to divide both sides by x. We get 960 inches. Are we done? The answer is not quite. We still want to find the nearest foot. So here I gave that information, some recall information. Every 12 inches make a foot. So how am I going to take this answer in inches and turn it into feet? Am I going to multiply or divide by 12? All right, so in this case, I'm going to divide by 12. So 960 divided by 12 gives me 80 feet. So the answer in feet is 80 feet. All right, last problem. All right, it says you can measure the width of the lake using a surveying technique as shown in the diagram. Find the width of the lake, WX, and justify your answer. So I would like you to create your proportion, cross multiply, and solve. This problem does not require any unit conversions, so you're just going to set up and solve, and then you're finished. All right, so let's take a look. So I'm going to put 104 over 8. Remember, I'm matching part over part, looking at that picture. Then I'm going to say x over 6. Then we cross multiply. And in this direction, I have 8x equals 624. Divide both sides by x, and x equals 78 meters. Make sure you label. All right, so we'll practice more in class. Make sure you fill all your information. Any questions? Comment and ask away. See you in class.